Hello, my name is Rosario Garcia, and this is my presentation for the exercise 4.2 life mapping experience. I share this with a colleague and a student. I'm going to present my findings here. Well, the beginning was my journey from Mexico to the United States, how my story took me from living down there with my grandparents, raised by them because my parents left when I was 8. They left me with them. They took my siblings, but I was raised by my grandparents. So my childhood was pretty much, it was happy. My grandparents have good means, and they were able to take me to places and vacations. It was a very happy childhood. Um, we even have help around the house. So we were not the regularly like what you hear on TV, struggling families. They were actually had a good status, and so that made it easier. But at the time, it was also hard not to be able with my parents. And even though they were um, afar and kept calling me, I still miss my parents. But my grandparents took me to church, took me celebrated my birthdays, incorporated me into like a very religious upbringing with like um, private school at some point. Then we moved from private school to public school. I was raised very spoiled for my age, and because I was at that point their only child per se. So it was very difficult for me when I came to the United States then to live with my family in a one bedroom apartment, and I was mad at them. So it was a very cool, a very different transition coming from Mexico to the United States for sure. Like I share with my coworker and my student, and also will upload my story to Dr. Horn and Dr. Rogers. Um, I don't think I was fearful of crossing the river just because my father was known for being a little violent, and his family used to do that for a living, crossing people, smuggling people across the border on top of other things. And so at the time, I don't think that I was even aware of the dangers that I was encountering at the time. But now that my son is 15 and looking back, I will never like do that to my own kid. Like, I don't think that he will be able to handle it or be able even to experience it, especially because we have way more knowledge now of the dangers that are in the border. Another thing that happened during my teenage years was a cultural shock. It was definitely challenging coming here, going to a different type of school. We used to wear uniforms, and it was very strict. Here, it almost seemed like the kids were doing a favor to the teachers to go to school, and it was just different, vastly different. Then also, I remember them holding me back because my English wasn't as fluent as it is now, although I still feel like I struggle with it. But I remember that my class, my English as a second language class at the time, was over 30 kids, and not all of us graduated, especially because they didn't. It was hard to be immersed in a different culture, trying to learn another language. So on this picture right here, that you see for my quinceañera, those four girls did not finish. Um, well, two of them finished high school, but they didn't go to college, and the two other ones in the white shirts, their sisters, they did not finish high school. Um, and I think at the time, because I was raised with my uncle in Mexico, who is an attorney, I always knew that I was gonna go to college. I just didn't know how, since as an immigrant, um, you don't have access to FAFSA and you don't have access to scholarship. And at that time, back in 2002, definitely there was less resources for any students without a social to pursue higher education. So graduating high school was a milestone for me. but I don't think that it was ever an option not to do it, because my parents really emphasized that the way that we were going to get out of our situation and going upward, socially, economically, was to go to school, to finish things. They're big believers that once you start something, you need to finish it. So I don't think that graduating high school was ever a question in my household. Um, it was a little bit challenging because, I mean, learning English and doing all this paperwork and trying to communicate with my teachers was definitely difficult. But we did it. So here, this one is my young adult season in life. And you see my brother there graduating from high school too. He's my youngest of my oldest siblings. I'm the oldest of five, and I'm now 40. My other brother is 39, and my other brother is 38. Then my parents have their U.S. citizen kids, and one of them is 25, and the other one's 22. So my brother here, I'm pregnant with my son. I married at 18, and then I'm pregnant here in this picture at 19. I became a mom at a very early age. Um, I think because when I went to community college, I work as a waitress. I didn't receive any adult triple C. I didn't receive any institutional aid or any outside aid. So I was working as a waitress, and all my tips were going to my tuition. And well, as a struggling adult, I couldn't keep going. So I got married. My husband is a U.S. citizen. Just because he got married to somebody at the time and became a resident, which means he got his green card. Then we end up pregnant. So I drop out. And I turn into the Hispanic cliche. Um, Although I was 19, I was still a teenager, but I was married, had a child. By 23, I had the two reasons of my life, my kids here, and they are still the motivation. They are the two blessings that keep me going. And every time I'm trying to give up, I remember that I'm an example for them, and so I can't tell them to go pursue their dreams if I'm giving up on mine. I have to mention that at 22 is when I had to go back to Mexico. I had to return to get my green card myself to become a U.S. Resident. I was there for 11 months in Mexico, and this really affected my perspective. Gave me more insight. Again, I renewed determination to finish college. I remember at the time asking God. I wasn't as close as I am now to God and religion, but I remember asking God, if you let me go back, I'll go back and finish college, and I'll have a different life, and I'll have a better life. And well, I was granted my green card, so I came back. Rogelio, my youngest son, was actually born here. I came back November of 2007, 8 months. I mean, actually, October 2007. He was born in November 30th, 2007. So he was born here. And well, God gave me a second chance, and I was determined not to give up and then go back to school. With a new game perspective, I was decided to complete the bachelor's at the time. Well, at the time, when I came back, I still need to work full time. So I went to Metrotech, got a technical degree there first, worked at a mental health office for 6 years. While I was working here with the doctors here, you see them, I became a U.S. citizen. Just because my mom told me that the citizenship was never going to be taken away, where my green card could. So she used to make these flashcards and like practice the U.S. history with me. So I had to thank her for that. She actually is the reason why I became a U.S. citizen, because she kept pushing and pushing for me to do it. And you can also see my mom here. This is my bachelor's degree. I actually went to pursue this one because I was trying to become the office manager here at the mental health clinic. But then they told me that couldn't even take me in consideration for the position unless I have a bachelor's degree. So I finished that in 2016. You can see my kids are already here older. And then a couple years pass and I wasn't moving. I work different jobs while in higher ed, because then I transitioned from the mental health clinic to SNU. And then later on, here you see me, I finished my bachelor's degrees this last December. So this was my adult years, again, working with my family, working with my degrees, never giving up. I actually became a Christian when I came back to the United States. And I think it really changed my perception of the world. It changed my perception on leadership, on how to treat others. Um, so that definitely was something else. That was something else that helped me keep pushing, not giving up, because there had been several obstacles and barriers. And my relationship with God now is different than the relationship that my grandparents um, had with God at the time, because they were raised Catholic. So theirs was more like transactional, I will say, and social, where mine is now a relationship with Him. And that's really, He's my go to um, when I have doubts and I don't think I can do it anymore. These pictures are just a few from when I work in admissions, when I work at Amazon, when I work at Home Depot. I have done different jobs. My brother and I remember in high school, we had to work with a fake social and work very during summers at a auto parts factory. I definitely learned resilience through that. I knew that if you wanted to get something, you had to go pursue it yourself. So I think that since then, I have had the determination and perseverance and not giving up and always looking for the next thing to do. So for several years, I've been doing two jobs until I decided to pursue the doctorate program, which it's my new job. It's my new baby, and so that's where I am right now. Where am I now? Well, I work here at SNU and student support services, helping students with similar backgrounds as mine. Um, I love helping them. I think that motivates me, that I want to be the person that I wish I had growing up, the person that guides them, shows them how to advocate for themselves, look for resources, and not to give up, because their parents came to this country for a better life, for education. And I keep telling them, and if it was easy, everyone will do it. So sometimes the hardest things and the right things are the same, and that's what it feels like it's the right choice. If you're in the path that is costing you a lot, is because it's worth it. It's because it means that you're working at it, and then you're gonna be happy with the end result, because it's gonna cost you, but you're gonna enjoy it because it costs you. Right now, I would like to do this one, the SNU Dr. Dawn. We'll see. I continue to pray. It's hard to be a full time mom, full time employee, full time sibling, wife, all these many roles in my life. And my son's the 15-year-old doesn't drive, but so it is still kind of hard, but not impossible. I still in touch with my family here. I just want to be an inspiration, leave a legacy, make sure that I pour into others what has been poured into me, like my professors in the doctorate program, in the master's program, in the bachelor's program at SNU. I want to be able to give back what's been given to me. And so that's where I am right now. And where am I going? Well, I used to have a lot of plans, and I used to have an outline